Tilhast, annual State of Native Agriculture Address. My name is Sue Titkwa. My English name is Tony Stanger McLaughlin. I'm a citizen of the Colville Confederated Tribes, and today I address you as the CEO of the Native American Agriculture Fund. NAAF is a private charitable trust dedicated to advancing agriculture in Indian country and increasing access to capital for Native American agriculture producers. We are in a significant moment for Native agriculture. Our tribes, producers, and Native organizations are in some instances being present when decisions are being made about our foodways and agriculture systems for the first time. We are focused on forward progress, learning from and honoring the work from generations before us, and putting tribes and producers at the forefront of decision-making for the future. I am proud of the transformative investments and collaborations over the past year, all vital intersections of education, partnerships, and innovation that are reshaping our agricultural landscape. One historical investment from NAAF is the establishment of a new agriculture business degree program in partnership with Haskell Indian Nations University. This program is our commitment to the future generations, a commitment to developing new pathways into agriculture in Indian country, ensuring our Native students emerge with the skills and knowledge as leaders in agriculture business and lending. NAAF is also committed to enhancing agricultural education across all schools to build a robust ecosystem of ag education and support. Through initiatives like the Tribal Agricultural Fellowship Program, we are ensuring that the next generation of agricultural leaders is nurtured, supported, and empowered. This brings me to the heart of our mission, our Native youth. A partnership announced last year between the National FFA organization, NAAF, and the Tribal Agricultural Fellowship Program represents a pivotal moment connecting tradition and innovation. This collaboration is not just about providing educational opportunities, it's about honoring and preserving the legacy of agriculture in tribal communities. It is about creating a cadre of professionals who are not just skilled in agriculture, but also deeply rooted in the cultural values and traditions that have sustained us for generations. The importance of this cannot be overstated. As we navigate the complexities of agriculture in Indian country, the need for cross-collaborative partnerships has never been more critical. For the first time ever, we are partnering with organizations such as the American Farm Bureau Federation to create more impactful resources that support our tribal and rural communities and the farmers and producers who are stewards of our land, foodways, and economies. This past year, NAAF invested in standing up Native Agriculture Financial Services, and other financing institution within the Farm Credit System. Farm Credit is the nation's largest agricultural lending system, delivering capital to almost 50% of the nation's agricultural operations. NAFS is building bridges between Native CDFIs and other lending entities in the Farm Credit System to ensure, first and foremost, that Native producers have expanded capital access opportunities. In partnership with other philanthropic foundations, we are revitalizing the intersection between Indigenous cultural identity and foodways. NAAF and the Mellon Foundation announced a co-investment into the Sovereign Equity Fund's Cultural Foodways Fund, which is about sustaining the ancestral knowledge that is the bedrock of our food sovereignty, ensuring that tribal colleges and universities continue to serve as vibrant centers for education and research in Indigenous agriculture. The second round of applications for this funding is available now. As we reflect on the state of Native American agriculture, we recognize the link between our past and our future, the vital role of education, collaboration, and innovation. Leemlempt, thank you to the Native producers from across Indian country for joining us at our State of Native Agriculture Address, and to federal partners such as USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack and Senator John Tester, who will discuss the ongoing efforts to ensure the voices of Indian country, tribes, and producers are used to shape policy and practice. Today, we are working towards ensuring tribes and producer perspectives and needs are not just heard, but also acted upon.
Secretary Tom Vilsack. I'm pleased to be able to speak with you today as part of the 2024 State of Native Agriculture Address. It's an honor to join you last year, and today I want to provide an update on the work USDA is doing to advance native agriculture. But first, let's take a step back. In the past 60 years, American agriculture has responded to the call for greater productivity. If the challenges of the past few years have highlighted anything, it's the resiliency of American farmers, producers, and ranchers. But the system that allowed us to meet those productivity demands has led to larger farms and fewer farmers by supporting production of limited crops at an enormous scale. We saw the effects on native agriculture in the recently released 2022 Census of Agriculture, where the number of American Indian and Alaska Native farmers decreased by over 2,000 compared to 2017. At the same time, the farmland operated by those farmers increased by more than 3.2 million acres. There are limits to how long this approach can last. We've lost 155.6 million farming acres and nearly 545,000 farms since 1981. Having fewer farmers predictably has led to a higher concentration of income. Despite record-breaking farm income in recent years, typically about 7% of U.S. farms receive 85% of overall farm income, which means the remaining 93% of our farms share only 15% of farm income. It's clear that we are at a pivotal moment today, where we have the ability to choose a more expansive set of options to create, not diminish, opportunity. USDA is using the American Rescue Plan Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the Inflation Reduction Act, as well as the Commodity Credit Corporation, to take a comprehensive approach to investing in farmers, ranchers, and small businesses to create opportunity for rural communities. You don't get much more rural than that of Indian country. While some of these investments are still nascent, we're beginning to see the fruits of this expansive policy framework that adds value for farms of every shape and every size and is designed for the real needs of rural areas. Indian country agriculture is nearly a $6.5 billion industry. This is a big increase from the $3.5 billion value just 5 years ago. Native American farmers and ranchers are doing their part to grow our food economy and to support food sovereignty interests, and USDA recognizes those efforts. That's why, in our pursuit to create an agricultural system that works for everyone, our department has taken several steps to support and better partner with tribal nations in empowering tribal food sovereignty and co-stewardship of federal lands and waters. Over the last year, we've made great progress, and I want to highlight a few accomplishments we've achieved in close collaboration and consultation with tribes, all of which are steps towards honoring this administration's commitment to advancing self-determination policies and respecting our unique nation-to-nation relationship. At the recent Reservation Economics Summit, I was proud to announce new investments in rural development programs in tribal communities. All told, USDA has provided more than $152 million for water projects for tribal entities and more than $1.1 billion for broadband investments in tribal communities during this administration. USDA has partnered with tribes and tribal serving institutions and organizations on multiple efforts during this administration to make food production and nutrition programs more accessible to tribal nations and to reimagine foodways from an indigenous perspective. Several efforts focus on bison and other indigenous animals, key components of an indigenous food system. The new Bison Pilot Project offers locally raised bison directly to the tribal communities where those herds are located. And a separate public-private partnership promotes bison restoration and conservation through education, policy, and new tribal buffalo market opportunities. The department has also, for the first time, created a meat processing program designed for the unique cultural and processing requirements of indigenous animals. So far, 4 tribal nations have received nearly $4 million in funding, and we expect to announce more awards soon. USDA is also providing up to $112 million through the Local Food Purchasing Assistance Plus program for tribal nations to purchase minimally processed food from underserved and tribal producers and to distribute that food through their communities. And a proposed rule we hope to finalize this spring would allow certain schools to serve traditional foods to meet the grain requirement for their students. Our efforts are expanding our investments in forestry as well. In 2023, the Forest Service signed 120 new co-stewardship agreements and nearly tripled annual co-stewardship investments with tribal communities to $68 million in fiscal year 23, up from nearly $20 million in fiscal year 2022. Now, these co-stewardship agreements incorporate indigenous knowledge and align with tribal priorities like improving watersheds and wildlife habitat, managing invasive species, and addressing the conditions that fuel destructive wildfires. No matter the program, it is critical to ensure all of our tools and resources are accessible and that we are removing significant concerns and barriers. USDA has entered into cooperative agreements with a number of tribal nations to fund agricultural ambassadors within those tribal nations to directly assist their producers and navigate USDA and U.S. Department of Interior agricultural resources and processes. We've also made it clear that tribal government-owned corporations are eligible for popular rural development programs, removed an audit requirement that was one of the biggest barriers to USDA federal contracting for small tribal businesses, and we're now requiring a tribal resolution of consent to borrowers building out broadband and rural electricity programs on reservations. The Biden-Harris administration is making historic investments to create a system that works for the many, not just the few. I hope we can continue to deepen our nation-to-nation relationship as we work together on our joint commitment to the bettering the future of Native American agriculture for the benefit of Native Americans and for the benefit of all America.
Whittlesey, and I'm an assistant director at Fort Lewis College managing the farmer training program at the Old Fort at Hesperus. Fort Lewis College is a small liberal arts college in southwest Colorado, and approximately 39% of the students are Native American or Alaskan Native, representing 113 tribes and Alaskan Native villages. Our farmer training program is open to everyone, serving students, community members, and both Indigenous and non-Indigenous producers. Since becoming a NAAF grantee in 2020, 33 Indigenous farmers and ranchers have participated at Fort Lewis College as farmers in training, ranching apprentices, incubator farmers, and regenerative food systems interns. In addition, we've hosted 19 workshops focused on Indigenous food production, processing, and preparation, and offered hundreds of hours of field training, classes, workshops, and presentations, attended by other Indigenous producers in the region. At 7,600 feet in elevation, with a 3-month frost-free season, our program focuses on teaching high-elevation growing practices through classes and fieldwork. We've been honored to work with many inspiring Indigenous producers as they work to realize their goals, whether they plan to manage ranches, start market gardens, or return home to reservation lands to work in food sovereignty efforts. It's an exciting time to be learning how to give Native agriculture space to thrive.
Yad she Dalen Benali Shia Haskan zo onishlik is this when a bushes chin kisla cheatney dasha che but ahni dashanale isnas bastet nasha a good ego the net astonishly.
Yad she not autonet touchinishly do tuts of ni bushes chin but origini dasha che do kilchini dashanal shelchina 8 baha or I see chin de nasha. Yin Shehagi, Brandon William Francis Nishia.
Chokmashki, Soho Chiofo at Spencer Busick, Chickasaw, German, Irish Saya, Mintili, Oklahoma City. Hello.
I'm from Tisnas, Arizona.
Originally from Black Mesa, Arizona.
I was an intern at the Old Fort 2021 and a farmer in training in 2023.
I'm a Fort Lewis College alum. I'm currently a farmer. How I help out with agriculture is I like teaching people traditional ecological knowledge as well as indigenous agricultural knowledge, and that's some of the work I do.
I'm currently a graduate student at Colorado Western University studying rural community health, and I'm hoping to tie in food systems and food production into my practicum projects. It could be a way connecting mental health with agriculture. I think horticultural therapy is something I want to pursue, or youth mentorship
Well, my grandfather used to farm. It's just really cool to have familial figure that farmed and, you know, connected to the earth in that way.
One of my earliest memories is playing hide and seek in the cornfield with my grandma and my brother. And growing up, everyone planted, had a lot of access to a lot of that knowledge and from my relatives.
I'm connected with native agriculture, I guess first and foremost through my grandma and gardening when I was growing up.
Something I try to relay to students is showing them that my ancestors were healthy and they were very self-sufficient and sustainable, and their deep connection with agriculture and their food was one of the reasons that we're here today, and we're evidence of their deep love and connection with the earth.
Seeing how a lot of people there are really connected with their traditional foodways, their food systems, through prayer and ceremony was a big part of the experience too.
Food production will be really important in our future. Having continued food production in a sustainable, thoughtful manner where we pay attention to soil health is really important.
I really can't say enough about opportunities like farmer incubator programs, farmer and training programs, and even places like the Old Fort where they train future farmers and give them all the skills needed to succeed and be successful.
So I've seen innovation through kind of a radical stepping back into pre-industrial ways.
Me and my garden?
There you go.
Biggest takeaway I've had from growing vegetables is the importance of replanting. And as soon as you realize that something's not coming up the way it should be, or your row isn't completely filled in, you have to plant right away. I'm interested in learning a trade and a skill that can't be taken away from you.
Having Native youth get the information so that they are able to participate in these opportunities and workshops.
Right now, a lot of communities that Indigenous students come from, they either live in food deserts or food swamps where they don't have access to healthy food. Even one farmer can change a whole community.
Senator John Tester. Before I start, I want to thank Native American Agriculture Fund for the critical work that you do for producers in Indian country. Native American farmers and ranchers are critical to our food supply and vital to our economy, and the resources you provide go a long way in strengthening tribal communities. First off, let me be clear that passing an updated farm bill is long overdue. While the 2018 bill had some historic wins in Indian country, like an expansion of the 638 programs and establishing a tribal advisory committee at USDA, we've got to have a farm bill that works for doing business in 2024. And we've got to make sure this bill works for farmers and producers in Indian country. This means updated reference prices and disaster relief. It means making sure the BIA and USDA are working hand in hand to support producers on tribal lands, with clear avenues of communication so that they can work with producers in a timely manner. And it means supporting funding for vital food security programs like SNAP and the food distribution programs on Indian reservations. And while there's still a lot of work to be done, we've scored some major wins in recent years, like money in my bipartisan infrastructure law to finish all the Montana Indian water rights settlements. This funding will help provide irrigation on tribal lands and protect our most important resource, and that's water. Above all, I want to listen and learn from you. You got my word that I'll be in your corner in the upcoming Farm Bill negotiations and beyond. So thank you, and please know that my door is always open.
Hi, I'm Erin Parker. I'm the Executive Director of the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative. Released every 5 years, the Census Agriculture data are critical in telling the story of agriculture, both its challenges and its successes. The Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative has been diving into the latest numbers released in February 2024, and I'm really excited to share some of what we've learned so far. 78,316 American Indian and Alaska Native producers were counted in this census, and they produced agricultural products valued at nearly $6.2 billion. That's nearly double the $3.5 billion that were counted in the 2017 Census of Agriculture. The average age of tribal producers was slightly lower than the national average, but the number of young tribal farmers counted increased. While the number of total tribal producers did drop slightly following national trends, tribal producers saw gains in other areas. The number of total acres that tribal producers farm and ranch on increased by nearly 4 million acres, for a total of 63 million acres in tribal ag production. The data also show continued growth for tribal food production in areas like poultry, crop production, and fruit and tree nut farming. Meanwhile, beef cattle ranching continues to represent the largest percentage of Indian country's ag production at 39% of all tribal farms. The Census of Agriculture is a reminder of the significant economic impact Indian country food and agriculture has, as well as the incredible variety of agricultural products that tribal producers work hard to grow, raise, and harvest every year. We know that work remains to improve the Census of Agriculture so that it paints a more complete picture of Indian country ag. Addressing these challenges requires a collaborative approach involving tribal leaders, government agencies, Native organizations, and all of Indian country's producers. Recognizing the unique circumstances of tribal lands and incorporating culturally sensitive approaches as essential steps toward obtaining accurate agricultural census data will be critical. IFAI is continuing to analyze the latest Census of Agriculture data. Learn more about our work at indigenousfoodandag.com.
Good afternoon. American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duval, and I farm here in Northeast Georgia, growing beef cattle and poultry. Now, I'm honored to join you today as we celebrate National Ag Day and reflect on the state of Native American agriculture. I want to thank Tony and her entire team at Native American Agriculture Fund for all the work that they put in to put this event on and for their partnership with Farm Bureau. We have been delighted to have you join us at our recent annual conventions, and we look forward to continuing to work together. See, at Farm Bureau, we know how important it is for farmers and ranchers from all regions, commodities, and backgrounds to come together and help shape the future of agriculture in our rural and tribal communities. I have often shared the story that began my journey when my father urged me to get outside my fence rows and make a difference in the lives of others around me. See, I believe that would make us better farmers and better members of our communities when we follow such advice. When we get outside our fence rows, we learn about the challenges that our neighbors down the road and across the country are facing. This makes us better advocates, better farmers, and yes, better friends. We must all keep learning ways that we can do better together. As I travel across the country in my role as American Farm Bureau President, I am reminded of all the things that we have in common across agriculture. And I am inspired by the spirit of community that's on full display. We show up for one another, helping our neighbors in all seasons. As we look to the future of agriculture, we need more of that just farm spirit. There's always more that we can do to support each other in our communities. Now, I'm proud that Farm Bureau is on just such a journey, and I'm grateful that Tony and her team share this vision and have become very good partners of ours. I want all of you to know that we need everyone at the table so that we can learn how to be stronger together as we grow the safe, sustainable food, fiber, and fuel that we all rely on. Thank you for your work and your tribal communities and for your commitment to agriculture. And God bless the American farmer. And God bless you all.
Hello, my name is Justina Slim. I come from the Navajo Nation. I am 23 years old and a current graduate of Colorado State University. I majored in animal science and agriculture business. In the future, I hope to see youth leadership evolve and grow in agriculture through more created opportunities for youth, such as internship opportunities or scholarships, or even creating spaces for jobs, just to see more kids from Indian country involved in agriculture and helping, just giving them that space and opportunity to be involved and make a change in their reservation or wherever they're located. I think we can encourage more of the younger generation to pursue careers in agriculture with simply just exposure. I know growing up on the reservation, I didn't have a bunch of exposure to the agriculture industry. My family, I grew up on a commercial cow-calf, but we didn't really set it up as a business structure from the beginning. And I also really kind of thought of it as a hobby. And I also know that I attended a boarding school when I was younger, and they didn't have FFA or 4-H programs. So I think just the increase of ag education in schools K through 8, and just really exposing younger children to all of the vast career options that are in the agriculture industry. As some final words, I would just kind of say, don't be scared and just go out there and be who you are. Don't be afraid of who you are. And that really allows you to, be comfortable with yourself. For example, I went to college thinking I was going to vet school and that's all I was going to do. But as I got more into my animal science classes and I became closer with professors and really talking to them about what my passions and aspirations were, as a student in agriculture and even being a Native American in agriculture, just really taught me that, vet school wasn't what I really wanted to do. And I kind of explored other options and I learned that I'm really passionate about beef cattle and beef cattle genetics as far as making quality better, and making cattle structurally better for generations to come.
Petiwaste chante usa peksto, calico imachia peksto, na la ko michajeki moiche elewiksto. Good day, everybody. I shake your hand with a good heart. My name is Calico. In Lakota, I'm called Looks for Herself Woman. I'm from the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation in South Dakota. But currently, I am a master's student at Stanford working on language revitalization, getting a degree in linguistics. I plan on from here going to law school and working at the intersection of language and agriculture and making sure that culture is integrated in all of the agriculture we are engaging in and that agriculture is incorporated in all of the cultural and language work that we are doing. So I don't think I need to stress to this audience the importance of Native youth in agriculture. We know the stats about the aging population of those in ag. So instead, I want to focus on why it's important that youth know about agriculture for their futures. And this will in turn strengthen Native agriculture as a whole. Many Native youth are deeply tied to their homelands. It took leaving home for me to realize this. I was lucky enough to grow up with agriculture all around me on my family's cattle and quarter horse ranch on Cheyenne River. But I realized whether you grew up on your homelands or are one of many of the Native urban youth or a part of the Native diaspora around the country or around the world, Native agriculture and the strong networks organizations like IAC, NAAF, and IFAI have created allow for Native youth to do meaningful work in the communities that matter to them. Via these networks, I've seen youth do truly amazing things in and for their communities. I've seen youth lead workshops and seminars, educating others on foraging or traditional foods. I've seen youth who never had an opportunity to visit their homelands, meet and learn from their relatives while working in ag. But perhaps most importantly, I've seen youth able to make a career out of this. As someone who is, at least on paper, a part of Gen Z, we've weathered a lot. We've grown up through financial crises, a pandemic, and a job market that essentially tells us to brace ourselves. Native ag provides an ability for youth to do meaningful work that can make them feel more secure in this climate. But also it increases the security for future Native youth. Each young person who enters into this Native ag space adds visibility to this growing industry and shows future youth a viable path. In the future, I hope to continue to see the youth that I grew up with in Native ag programming, creating the opportunities for the next generation. It was so inspiring to see those that I've known since I was 14 at conferences or youth summits, now in leadership positions. They provide solidarity to these future youth who might be scared leaving home for the first time. We get it, we were there. They also know what works and what doesn't work when planning engaging programming. Additionally, they have even bigger ideas of what agriculture is and can be, and that will be reflected in the ways that they engage with youth. Because of the strength of Indian Ag's initial investment in the next generation, I have confidence that we will continue to see this youth empowering youth future play out in the years to come. I know that I have a strong network of Native youth to lean on as I continue my journey in Native agriculture. Let us continue to support and empower our youth as they chart their paths in Native Ag, knowing that their endeavors will not only sustain our communities, but also inspire generations to come. Wopila, thank you all.
Hi, my name is Aletha Johnson. I am the Interim Director for Talani Lake Enterprises. Our focus is water, food, and economic security for our community. We support with capacity building. We support with assistance in physical sponsorship, and we also support in technical assistance when it comes to applying for grants. We've helped many farms across the nation. We mainly are in the Little Colorado River area. We do work with Hopi and other local tribes.
My name is Mae Franklin, and I am a farmer along the Little Colorado River. I've been farming about 5 years. We have an organization called Cameron Farm Enterprise. We're in the process of becoming a nonprofit. We're sort of family focused right now, but Cameron Farm Enterprises makes those acres available to community members. There's probably about 17 acres that we can provide. We have to haul water to these places to grow anything. And I think that we're just getting into this farming, and we're learning sort of the market production. Before, it was just mainly because I've been farming using the hoop house and the outside acres just for my own subsistence. There's this opportunity there. So I'm excited about that. If we just put our heads together and capture some of that. One of the areas that I really see the youth just stepping up to the plate is through the nonprofit. They are educated, they come back, they go to the universities and get training in organic produce, and they come back and they teach us. We needed to come together and speak to this whole urgency of coming together to talk about the water. They're coming back, they're showing up, and they're helping.
I'll introduce myself in Navajo. Adonai Nakadene Neshne. Totsoni Bashichin, Hashkan Hazo Dashichedo, Nanesh Tachi Nationale, Nele, Mudahilena de Nasha. I'm from the Grand Falls area in the Loop community on Navajo Nation, and I represent the Sunset Gardens.
Hello, Yate, Shea, Kiani Jones, Sinashia, Kirene Lishlan, Totsoni Bashichin, Hashkanzo Shichedo, Tachi Dashinella, LA Dahilena de Nasha. Hello, my name's Kiani Jones. My primary role is a project manager for KEA, Advanced Rural Manufacturing Alliance, also known as KARMA, and we've been working in partnership with Sunset Gardens.
My name is Ben Jones. Kachi Ebashichin Ado Sanachine Dashichedo Kea Anidashinal Nana Nakaidna Shalchin. I'm married into the Loop community, Grand Falls. I'm originally from Clagito, Arizona.
So agriculture in the Loop community on Navajo Nation, there is some development in Loop community from the past. There's two main community family gardens. One is Beaver Farms, and then the other is North Loop Family Farms. And so growing up as kids, we kind of grew at the North Loop Family Farms with my grandparents as well. So it was a family type of activity that my brothers, my parents, and my grandparents all partook in, growing food traditionally. And There are some more farms, gardens at individual homes, so in the community, and which is good because it kind of just shows that the wealth of knowledge and just the connection to farming in the community is growing as well. Like enterprises have been doing work on the ground with the grassroots community members and kind of just involving and supporting the agriculture work in these communities as well.
There's about 13, 12 grocery stores in the Navajo Nation with the size of West Virginia. And so access to, the different types of foods, more families creating gardens and having little plots near their homes. I think seeing those developments and kind of expansion and also opportunities to grow, but also, how it could possibly be a way of sustaining life. Our emphasis through our organization, KEA Advanced Rural Manufacturing Alliance, we always emphasize, wanting to integrate technology, whether that looks like 3D printing, coding, these other advanced ways of, can this be a possible way to introduce into our communities? Definitely seeing all these other related issues that you start to learn about, whether that's the water rights issues in the areas that all impacts, farming, and what that kind of looks like.
It's a big contrast to what Loop looks like. Loop is kind of like your Martian landscape with no trees, a lot of wind. All the water's underground, and we emphasize on the farm development for economic development purposes. But mainly it was a way to justify the water rights, which is being negotiated right now for the Navajo Nation. And there's the fear of losing water rights. And then how is it that we get as much water as much as we can? And part of the strategy was that if we can build farms and teach it enough where there would be activities to utilize the water. We brought some folks from Israel to really get an idea of applying the scarcity of water using drip irrigation. At the time, the idea of drip irrigation was just barely coming out. And Israel had an approach to growing food in a very desert environment. So we produced a lot of food locally. So it's kind of been a shift from a very traditional way of farming to more mechanized farming today. Thank you.
Agriculture. It is interconnected to nearly every aspect of our lives. You see its impact on everything, from food and nutrition, the land and environment, to the economy and culture. Agriculture is the core of building sustainable stewardship with the land. Without agriculture, our lives would never be the same. Today, we are developing climate solutions to combat food insecurity, economic disparities, and national disruptions. As we develop ag solutions within Indian country, it is critical to recognize the importance of the upcoming Farm Bill on our tribal communities. It is a commitment to our people, tribes, and producers, a commitment to uphold tribal sovereignty on matters that impact the economic, nutritional, and environmental health of our tribal communities. This is an opportunity to expand access and sovereignty over food systems for tribal nations to ensure food security, cultural preservation, and economic sustainability, to further tribal self-governance for tribes, to tailor these programs to meet the specific needs of their tribal members. The Farm Bill addresses fundamental needs that affect people across political and geographic boundaries. It is important for both new and multi-generational ag producers, as it is an opportunity to support the next generation and ensure agriculture's continuity. Together, we cultivate not just crops, but a future rich in prosperity, sustainability, and shared resilience. For this work, we at the Native American Agriculture Fund thank you for feeding our people, growing our economies, and building our future.